Marshall Pruett is back. I'm Robin Miller, RACER.com. We're going to do our little silly season video because we got a couple weeks between now and the season finale in Laguna Seca.
Mark Andretti is going to Ed Carpenter Racing.
Don't tell him the good stuff right off the bat.
Oh.
I wrote a story a month or so ago, said Rossi was the only silly season. He's the only silly season, the only guy that matters. He's the only domino that's going to move. What the hell do I know? That, as it turns out, that's not true. So now, this weekend, we had an edict from the Aero SPM team that no one could ask James Hinchcliffe any questions that didn't pertain to this weekend. They couldn't ask him about the future. Now, why, if the guy was going to drive for you next year, would you put that edict out, Mr. Pruett?
I don't know. I didn't receive that edict because I didn't ask. See, that's one of the good things. If you don't ask if you can talk to people, they don't give you any
I didn't ask either. This came from the print guys. They told me. They came up and said, hey, we weren't allowed to interview.
Weren't allowed.
Yeah. Really?
Really.
So.
That's cute.
I'm betting a whole bunch of money. I think Hinch is the big domino. I'm betting he's going to be with Team Ray Hall next year in a third car with a Honda. This is the money I'm prepared to lose.
It's $1 with a bunch of Canadian dollars behind it.
It's called a New Jersey roll. There's a $100 outside and a 51's inside.
Wow.
But Hinch makes a lot of money, Marshall, from Honda of Canada, makes a lot of money doing the commercials. He is an ambassador for Honda, and they can say all they want. He's a lame duck on that team, and they say McLaren's not going to make the decision about who the driver is. Right. Yeah, and I'm going to dunk a basketball in about an hour.
So, the rumor you've heard is that Hinch might not drive for the team that did not announce him in their press release announcing the new team. I did read a story yesterday written by a good friend of ours that has quotes from one of the team co-owners, Sam Schmidt, saying he's coming back. He has no idea why folks are saying otherwise. So are we being bold dickheads by suggesting otherwise? Is this hashtag fake news, Pruett and Miller?
Well, it could be in the end. However, it just makes sense. It's common sense for Hinch. You know, if he wants to do this for 2 or 3 more years before he comes to NBC, which he will be doing, you want to have a chance maybe to, you don't want to be thrown away after a year. And I just don't think he figures into McLaren Aero SPM plans. And it's Graham Rahal wants him to be his third driver. Bob Rahal wants him. Honda definitely wants him. When you got that many people pulling for you, contracts aren't worth much.
I can tell you this. This is within the last month, having spoken to every team owner that has or might have an opening, Bobby Rahal was the happiest, the highest on Hinch, truly, of everyone that I spoke with. He's the one who was really feeling groovy about having the mayor.
Yeah.
So will that happen? Again, we'll see. I also know this. I would not be surprised if he ends up staying. And not necessarily because it's the perfect fit, but because, boy, the windows of cracking into. I was about to say cracking in, breaking into someone's house. I shouldn't do that.
No,
sorry, brother.
It's all right.
Hopefully you survived that one.
Yeah.
The windows of getting into other teams and real seats and opportunities, they are so far and few between, even for someone like Hinch. That, to me, has been one of the biggest things, maybe to go with the where will Hinch go big story angle, the how many places are there to go for him, that's been even bigger. We love him. He's such a huge boost to IndyCar. You want to see him in a great team doing great things for the series. Just strange times where we're talking about there's no lock.
No, and here's something I got to, before I forget, is people are saying he's got a contract. He ain't going to get that contract. And I'm saying, really? Well, guess what? Aero and SPM have to buy their way out of the Honda contract. So if I'm Honda, I'm saying, you know what? Instead of paying us, we'll just call it even. He's our driver still. You go find somebody else. I think that's how it gets settled.
Should we talk about the other potential spam? I hear you stole my acronym.
I did. Did you see that?
You bastard. Actually, it's not mine. It's Jim Johnstone's. Thanks, Jim, for coming up.
Thanks,
that one
Jim.
of my
That was
listeners.
a good one.
About 2021, there's some stuff you and I have heard about potential McLaren team movement for 21. Should we talk about that? Or should we? All right.
What if we get run over by a car tonight? This will be the last time people see us.
You get broken into again. Yeah. So there's a certain guy by the name of
Simon Pagenaud.
who we've heard, not claiming is fact, signed a how many year extension?
1 year extension.
So what if a guy who would in theory be a free agent at the end of 2020 might be available to go to a team that, at least from the McLaren side, would be run by his mentor, Gilles de Ferran, and a team that he helped elevate into an IndyCar leader, absolute leader, before he went to Team Penske. Craziness, madness, right, Robin Miller?
No, and I think that's such a good. It's just such another thing that makes so much sense. A technical guy, a guy that's really technical, that's in the prime of his career. De Ferran loves him. I'm sure McLaren thinks he's a pedigree they want. I mean, I think the great story, Marshall, is going to be who does Spam, which is, by the way, Smith, Peterson, Arrow, McLaren. Who does Spam have next year? We're going to assume that we're going to take Hinch out of that mix. Who they get?
I think the people's champ, Connor Daly, even though he didn't complete more than one turn in this race.
Which wasn't his fault.
Bizarre how, with Marcus Ericsson leaving to go to Belgium, by the way, he turned 0 laps in the race, or anything. Connor, who's here to replace him, turned 0
laps.
That wasn't a very happy thing. I think Connor made a pretty good statement for himself, knowing that he does have some support. We know the Air Force is behind him, not saying $6 million a year behind him, but
it's not.
I'm just saying the mindset I have, which may be totally incorrect when I'm looking at next season. I think of 2020 as a standalone year for McLaren. They really thought they were going to have Colton Herta. He was going to be their current and future star, lead them into glory. When that didn't happen, I think that shuffled their plans heavily. I think, Robin, they're having to look at next year as what do we do to make a good effort, but we need to start looking towards 21 as that's the real start with the real people.
Right, stopgap. What do we do in the interim? The other thing is you talk to Zach, and I text him a lot. I mean, Fernando Alonso might run 3 or 4 races next year, in addition to the Indy 500. They don't seem to know what he's going to do, and he doesn't seem to know what he wants to do yet. So, but I think he'd like to run. He told us he'd like to run a short oval someday, and Road America would be perfect for him. That's his kind of racetrack. So, what about the kid whose dad is the McLaren?
Nicholas Latifi, been hearing for a little while now that he's just going to continue focusing on Europe and Formula One goals and whatnot. So, again, we're in the who knows phase. It doesn't sound like that.
Would McLaren go after Oliver Askew? If he wins the Lights, he's going to win the Lights Championship.
I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, just because, at least gauging on what they've told us, what they're looking for. And this isn't just McLaren. I know we keep saying McLaren, it's Schmidt and Peterson, but McLaren is a big new influence in shaping this team's future. What they've expressed is they want a younger driver they can build around, and they want a veteran. I haven't heard anything about a rookie, a true, gotta coach up, teach you everything, watch you make mistakes. I know, at least preference-wise, McLaren would like to come in next year with S and P, we'll just call him Spam, and make an impact. I don't know if an Askew fits that model. Now, year 2, that kid's going to be a monster. I think we're in the who's going to drive for him sweepstakes, and as you mentioned at the outset, that's going to be an interesting thing to follow throughout the offseason.
It'll be fun.
What about Ed Carpenter Racing? We're here at Portland, standing in front of the beautiful little whoop-de-whoop, go flying through here, BMX, motocross, you name it, track. Stood and watched the race here in Portland towards the end. The number 20 pits, I believe 21, I always get the numbers wrong, in Ed Jones's Ed Carpenter Racing pit. Funnily enough, you know who's on the timing stand with a headset? Rinus VeeKay.
How about that?
And his parents there. When I stopped by to catch up with Ed Carpenter yesterday, I had to wait just a little bit because he was busy on pit lane watching Indy Lights qualifying.
Ed Carpenter watching Indy Lights qualifying. Why would that be, Marshall?
So, look, you and I really enjoy Ed Jones, root for him. He is a heck of a guy on an oval in particular. He hasn't been walking around looking like he's carrying a big old satchel full of confidence. So, I don't know. I can't tell you what may or may not happen there. But, boy, this Rinus VeeKay kid, I think he's got a ton of potential. I tell you, I like the idea of this young Dutchman coming in there.
19 years old. He's got Jumbo sponsorship, and Jumbo's a good word for him. They're a huge food conglomerate, right, in the Netherlands. And I think Spencer's going to hang in there. He finished sixth today, did a good job. I think Ed said, I'm going to give this kid 3 years. And he's had some good runs this year. He didn't have a podium yet this year, but I think Ed believes in him.
I think there's more there. Let's talk about Carlin for a second. Big questions, what their future might look like, not going away, but just what will they look like when we come back next year?
I always said give him 3 or 4 years. Well, next year will be what, their third year? 3. He's going to find somebody. I think they got to be impressed with the job Connor's done for him.
Yeah.
He's got to be on their radar too. Charlie Kimball's trying to put a deal together to have a full-time ride again, and he's got some new sponsorship opportunities. Max obviously kind of drives the ship there, so that's the one place you can point to and say, would Marcus Ericsson go there? He's got some sponsorship and probably some history with Trevor. I don't know, but that's the legitimate place that you want to see maybe somebody like Trevor say, okay, I'm going to have a paid driver and I'm going to hire somebody. And Connor would be a natural.
Let's talk about Chip Ganassi Racing. There's this guy, old New Zealander. I've heard they might fire him. Have you heard that rumor?
I heard today when the battery quit, that was it.
Yeah, his fault.
They've had it.
He left the lights on overnight.
Again, he destroyed a car's battery, so he's out.
Trash.
Out.
Complete trash.
He'll be in the Xfinity Series next year.
We know that they're going to have Scott Dixon back, Felix Rosenquist, who is making Chip and Mike and everybody look really smart.
Stefan Johansson.
Yeah. How's this? Think about where they weren't last year in terms of a 1-2 punch. Hearing and know for a fact that the team has been speaking with a number of smaller teams about the possibility of doing an Andretti Technologies like support program.
You wrote that a couple weeks ago.
Somebody who looks like me. The thing that's interesting, though, maybe to add to that, is I keep hearing it could be a little bit more. Don't know if that's accurate or not, but keep hearing it could be a little bit more personnel, possibly more staff, because keep in mind, they have a sports car program the same size as their IndyCar program. Lots of great people, lots of great staff, most that come from IndyCar. We don't know about them having a sports car deal next year to keep them going in IMSA. So everything we know says they're trying to find someone to help, some way to use their personnel in sports cars to help out with a third IndyCar maybe, help a team run one. I haven't heard anything about wanting to have a third car under their tent full time. But that's an interesting ploy while they try and find a new manufacturer to work with in sports cars, keep the band going over here in IndyCar, so that could be really interesting. And some of the teams they've spoken with, you might not expect. Mike Shank says he's going to have an announcement here before Laguna about who his partner is going to be.
Oh, good.
If we're thinking of partners and we're thinking about some of the questions on Harding Steinbrenner, whether they're going to stay a standalone team or whether young George Steinbrenner is going to roll into a fifth co-entry under the full Andretti Autosport team, could there be a space for Andretti Technologies to help a different team? Could that be a Meyershank Racing? Very, very interesting stuff.
That was his original partner, right, Marshall?
Yep,
yeah.
For the Indy 500 in 2017.
It'd definitely be a Honda, so yeah, that would make sense.
What else?
Anthony Joseph Voigt's team. They're going to lose ABC Supply after 15 years as their full-time sponsor. ABC is going to sponsor them at the Indy 500. TK wants to have a farewell tour year. You interviewed Mateus and did a story on him today in RACER.com. I think Voigt said on the phone this morning, he said, we ain't made a decision yet on drivers. Larry and I are going to decide later.
You should have inserted the curse words while he was conveying that.
No.
Okay.
But he was happy I didn't call him a fat man on NBC today, which
he saves that for me.
So
what do we think there? Because we've heard rumor that there could be some interest in trying to find something good for Tony back in Honda land. I don't know if there's any veracity to that. But
well, I think Tony would like. I think because he was such a Honda guy, he'd like to end his career there. But to your point, where do you put him? If Honda's trying to place Hinch, and then TK's next, I just don't know where there's. If I was Tony Kanaan, I would go to Chip and say, hey, brother, I want to go out in style. I want to run one of your cars at the Indianapolis 500. Make that my going away tour. That's what I do.
Let's close with Dale Coyne. We know Sebastian Bourdais has one more year left. Our French fry, one more year on his contract. We know that the car Santino Ferrucci is in is available. I did speak with Dale this morning, waiting to get across the track here, and he said, you know, that story you guys did, boy, that might not have been the smartest thing in the world. I'm paraphrasing. He said, my phone exploded afterwards because everybody thought it was taken. Everybody thought Santino was already a guarantee to be in that car next year, and man, I had a hard time keeping up with all the drivers calling. So,
but he did say on television when I interviewed him at Gateway, I'm going to do everything I can to keep him, right?
But we also know Dale.
Yeah.
What does Dale love more than anything? But he loves new drivers. He loves the possibility of new talent. So we'll see there. Do we think Santino's going to be in IndyCar next year? Yes. But coming back to your point, another thing Dale said, there are too many drivers walking around with $2.5, $3 million, and almost nobody with the $6 million that I need. That's why when we talk about Hinch, where might he go? Where would Santino be? Where would Renus, Oliver Askew? Pick some of the drivers in cars now, some who aren't. Colin Brown.
Norman, you did a story on the Indy Lights driver.
Ryan Norman as well.
Norman,
he's looking to get in for a couple of races as well.
Our buddy in Wisconsin that Vassar loves, the Indy Lights guy.
Aaron Telitz, absolutely.
He's got a lot of talent.
Felipe Nazar's trying to be here. I know that Colin Brown has a little bit of backing behind him. That, to me, maybe the third big theme to close here for the off-season, silly season stuff we're talking about is it's a lot of names, not a lot of seats. Some of them don't have enough money to truly grab something and make it theirs. A lot of young drivers, even some veterans, going to be feeling a little uncomfortable waiting for Team Osh to say, that guy's got 2.6, you got 2.5. It's going to be, as you well know, a little bit of off-season gambling, wagering, anteing, wagering up.
Yeah, don't remind me. I'm not doing very good as a professional gambler. All right, we're going to wrap it up. It's great to see the big man back, especially with him and Sebastian Bourdais. We'll write some stories and make some stuff up in the next couple weeks. Thanks for watching and reading RACER.com.
Watch the podcast. I was hoping to get a watch the podcast from you.